On January 23, 1959, 9 of the best hikers in the Soviet Union set out for the Ural Mountains. All of them had years of experience in extreme expeditions. All were in excellent physical condition. None returned alive. What happened to them at the Dyatlov Pass puzzled investigators for 65 years until modern science finally solved the case. The group was led by Igor Dyatlov, 23 years old, an engineering student and expert mountaineer, with 6 previous expeditions. With him were 8 companions, all between 20 and 38 years old. They were all students or graduates of the Ural Polytechnic Institute. They carried top-quality professional gear, durable tents, sleeping bags for extreme cold, and carefully calculated food rations. Their route was classified as Category 3, the most difficult in the Soviet system. The 10th member, Yuri Yudin, fell ill on January 28th and had to turn back, a decision that would save his life. Photos in Igor's diary show a cheerful group, joking, singing songs. In an entry dated January 30th, Igor wrote, "The mood is excellent. Everyone is happy with the trip." Nothing indicated any problems. On February 1st, they reached the slope of Kholat Shachol. In the language of the Mansi, the indigenous people of the region, it means Mountain of the Dead, a name that would soon take on a terrible meaning. At 5 p.m., they set up their tent. But there was a problem: the slope was steep. To level the ground, they dug into the packed snow, creating a platform. This decision, seemingly logical, would trigger the tragedy. This is the last photograph of the group alive, taken at 5 p.m. on February 1st, 1959. That night, while they slept, something happened that terrified them so deeply they made an impossible decision to understand. The group had agreed to send a telegram to their sports club no later than February 12th. The telegram never arrived. On February 20th, the families demanded a search. A massive rescue team was organized: volunteer students, police, military, even helicopters. On February 26th, they found the tent. What they saw made no sense. The tent had been cut open from the inside multiple knife slashes, as if they'd needed to escape urgently and couldn't use the normal entrance. But here's the most disturbing part. Inside the tent was all their vital equipment: boots, coats, hats, gloves. At minus 30 degrees, leaving without these meant a death sentence. Footprints in the snow showed they had walked in a straight line towards the forest, 1.5 kilometers away. Some barefoot, others wearing only socks. They weren't running, they were walking. The first 2 bodies were found on February 27th, beneath a large cedar tree. They were barefoot, dressed only in their underwear. They had tried to climb the tree. The lower branches were broken. A small campfire had been lit nearby. The next 3 bodies were found on March 5th, between the tent and the cedar. It looked as if they had been trying to return to the tent, but never made it. All were dressed inadequately for the cold. The last 4 bodies weren't found until May 4th, when the snow began to melt. They were discovered in a ravine, 75 meters from the cedar, buried under 4 meters of snow. Lead investigator Lev Ivanov questioned more than 200 witnesses. He examined every piece of evidence and found things that defied reason. Some of the bodies showed severe internal injuries with no external wounds, as if struck by an invisible, massive force. The clothing of several victims contained detectable levels of radiation. Witnesses in the area reported seeing strange orange lights in the sky the night of the incident. On May 28, 1959, Ivanov closed the case with a statement that only deepened the mystery. The cause of death was an unknown natural force that the hikers could not overcome. The file was classified. For 65 years, theories ranged from the rational to the impossible. An avalanche. But there was no evidence of a massive avalanche in the area. Secret military tests? The radiation seemed to support that, but the site wasn't a military zone. A Mansi attack. Yet there were no weapon wounds, and the Mansi people were never violent. Infrasound. Sound frequencies that can trigger irrational panic, but it was impossible to prove. Secret weapons, experiments, paranormal phenomena. Every theory had impossible gaps. Until 2021. The force was equivalent to a low-speed car accident, enough to cause severe internal injuries without visible external marks. In total darkness, disoriented, possibly with some limbs injured and screaming in pain, the group panicked. They couldn't use the tent entrance because snow was blocking it. They cut through the fabric from the inside to escape. At -30 degrees, they had to make a decision in seconds: go back into a potentially collapsed tent or seek shelter. They chose to flee into the forest, where they could build a fire and protect themselves. But they made a fatal mistake. They underestimated how much time they had. At those temperatures, hypothermia can incapacitate a person in less than 30 minutes. The first two to reach the cedar tree tried to start a fire. They attempted to climb the tree to see if they could locate the tent in the darkness, but the cold was already overpowering them. Those who came behind, seeing that their companions had died, took their clothes in an attempt to survive. That's why some bodies were found wearing others' clothing. The 4 who ended up in the ravine likely fell when the snow-covered ground gave way beneath their feet. They became trapped under meters of snow. The radiation has a simple explanation. One of the members, Semyon Zolotaryov, worked at a nuclear facility. His clothing had residual contamination normal for someone in his profession. The orange lights in the sky aren't a mystery either. That week, there were documented R-7 missile launches from Baikonur, visible hundreds of kilometers away. En 2019, el gobierno ruso reabrió el caso. Después de analizar todas las evidencias con tecnología moderna, llegaron a la misma conclusión que los científicos suizos: causas naturales. Una avalancha de placa retardada. El paso Dyatlov no fue un misterio paranormal. No hubo conspiración militar. No hubo fuerza sobrenatural. Fue una tragedia perfecta. Montañistas expertos que tomaron una decisión lógica que desencadenó una reacción en cadena imparable. Una avalancha pequeña, en el momento equivocado, en el lugar equivocado. Después de 65 años de especulación, la ciencia finalmente resolvió el caso. Pero los nombres de esos 9 jóvenes valientes nunca serán olvidados. Descansen en paz. Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, Lyudmila Dubinina, Yuri Doroshenko, Yuri Krivonishenko, Rustem Slobodin, Semyon Zolotaryov, Nikolai Thibault Brignol, Alexander Kolevatov. If this video left you amazed, give it a like and subscribe for more real mysteries solved by science. What other historical case do you want me to investigate? Leave it in the comments.